Hi again, class. It's Kayla. I am here for my informative speech. I'm going to be repotting one of my plants that is not doing too hot. So we'll get right into it. This is a Philippines evergreen, also known as a poison dart plant. They're native to Philippines and southern Asian countries, regions. I'm pretty sure Agoho and Lenzo are one. So not native here, and unfortunately it is feeling the effects of the New England weather. And that is why I decided to start filming, because I was going around looking at some plants and I have noticed that a lot of these leaves are falling off and yellowing, and they're mushy on the end. So that is a sign of overwatering in my mind, or there's no evaporation coming from the soil. So there's a lot of water accumulation happening in my pot. It is very mushy and it is on a high shelf, so I do not see the pot too much. Also, if you look in the pot, maybe it's better in my angle, it is kind of white grayish on the top of the soil. That is mold buildup, and they're also very tiny fungus gnats. So we're due for a repot. So we'll get started. What you need is a clean pot. I reuse all my pots, so if you're reusing, you need to clean them. Make sure there's no bacteria from other plants. You will need your shears or whatever you cut your plants with. I will be using probably my smallest ones because it is a pretty tiny plant. You will need soil and water. So for my soil, I am actually going to be using a different one than I normally use. It is a cactus repotting. It's mainly for drainage. Since it is colder months, I am assuming that my room is not as humid. I can't keep the temperature quite as hot as some of these tropical plants would like, so they're not having that exchange of, taking in water and releasing water through transpiration. So when you have indoor plants, it's a little bit different than outdoor plants. They rely on your temperature and the sunlight to, photosynthesize and transpire. And transpiration is when water is released from the leaves and the stem. So it cycles through. It takes the nutrients from the water, releases it back. And if there's water stuck in the pot, it can't do that because it needs aeration. So if the plant's root bound, or if it's just mushy in there, there's no air circulating, so it can't do that process, unfortunately. So yeah, we will start by, for one, you're going to remove your sick plant from whatever soil pot it's in. I also have tarp down, so I don't have to do this outside because it is freezing and I don't think my plant would survive. So take your plant out. Take your plant out. You're gonna remove that excess soil. My roots are looking really good. So the roots are pretty stable. There's no mush. There's no blackening. I don't think I'll have to be cutting any of the roots. So when you're repotting a plant, you also want to be very careful about where you're grabbing. So you can hold leaves. I'm not going to hold these leaves because the plant's pretty big. I'm holding near the roots right now because for the most part, when you mess up a root, or if you break a root or multiple roots, the plant can regenerate those and it will live. If you break the stem on honestly any of these stems, any big or small stem, you can't fix that and they don't rejuvenate and the plant will just die. So very careful about what you're grabbing and how you're grabbing. So once you take your plant out, you want to go around, you want to look, see no mush. I see some dead leaves that I'm removed. So all these ones that I removed were falling off dead. If there are still some that are dying, like this one is yellow dying, it's not falling off by itself just by me touching it. That means there's still nutrients that the leaf has that the plant will take back in to the plant to give it to the rest of the plant. So I'll leave it on until it decides to fall off naturally. So yeah, move dirty pot. I don't think I'm gonna really need to be doing too much trimming like I thought I was, because I thought the roots were gonna be pretty dead. So take your new pot, gently place down your plant. While we do this, I'm going to just grab another cup to scoop this. So I usually do, in the summer, I want to say 2 parts soil, 1 part perlite or sphagnum, depending on the plant. I'm not going to do sphagnum because it retains a lot of moisture, and my issue right now is moisture buildup. So we're going to stick with just perlite and some potting mix. And you do not want to fill your pot fully, like to the brim. You do want to keep space there for your plant. It's going to take up a lot of that space on the bottom. You're just going to mix together your perlite and your soil. You just want to make sure that there aren't just clumps of perlite in there. Yeah. I also use my hands for everything, but I also have a lot of plants and I've been doing this for a while, so I'm not too worried about getting dirty. Alright, so all the sphagnum mixed in well with my soil. You also, I did not mention this, you also want to make sure that your pot has drainage holes. You don't want to turn it too much, and if you don't have a bottom, that is totally okay. I use trays, so at the end of the day, it will just sit like this to catch that water that does end up draining out. So it's mixed. You're gonna gently pick your plant back up. Make sure you're not messing up the stem. And you're going to dig a space in between, in the middle, your soil. Deep enough to allow your plant to sit above the bottom of the pot, because you do want space for your roots to grow. You don't want them to get root bound, and if you put it right down to the bottom, they usually end up growing out the bottom of those drainage holes, I found, and it's a pain in the butt to repot plants when they have grown out the bottom. So now, if you can't see, my plant is sitting in this little hole that I dug. I'm going to do the same process. I'm going to add soil now at the top. I'm going to fill back in, give it some stability. And I usually have, actually I might for this one, they're fertilizer inserts. It's like planting spikes. I don't know if this plant is getting enough nutrients. And I don't want to over-fertilize either. Over-fertilizing will also kill your plant, so it's a balancing game, also a guessing game. And I don't know if the plant will do any better after this. I'm hoping that repotting it will give it a fighting chance, but with how cold it is getting, my room is not retaining humidity the same way it was in the summer, and my plants are suffering, unfortunately. I think one way I managed this last year was I covered my windows with that, it's like plastic film that seals your windows, so you cannot there's no air seeping through from outside. The unfortunate part about that is that plants also need air circulation. So I don't want just dead air in my room. It's not that like it'll be dead air, but I just don't want the same air cycling through my room. For me or my plants, to be honest. Yep, and once you get every hole filled, we'll do a little tap, make sure soil fills in between my roots. And voila, we are repotted. So, when you're done repotting, you want to water the plant. It will set the soil around the roots. I'm not going to water this plant too much just because the issue at the moment was overwatering. So we're only just going to do a little bit around the sides to help the soil set. And you're all done. Voila. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned a little bit of something from my plant repotting video. Have a good day.